Project Bluebeam.
Welcome, Perspectives with the Savage Shadowy, a podcast where we delve deep into controversial topics, explore intriguing theories, and provide a unique viewpoint on matters that challenge conventional wisdom. I'm your host, the Savage Gentleman, and in this episode we embark upon a journey into the shadowy realm of conspiracy theories to unravel the enigma known as Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam, a subject shrouded in mystery and intrigue, has long captured the imagination of those who question official narratives of government agencies and hidden forces at play in our world. In this episode, we aim to separate fact from fiction. Joining me as I dissect the origins, claims, and implications of Project Bluebeam. We'll explore the alleged plans for a staged extraterrestrial invasion or religious revelation, orchestrated by the powerful elites to manipulate global populations. Are we on the brink of grand deception? Or is Project Bluebeam simply a figment of our imagination? Through research, analysis, and thought-provoking discussions, we'll strive to provide you with a well-rounded perspective on this intriguing theory. As always, our goal is not to dictate what you should believe, but to encourage critical thinking and open dialogue. So fasten your seatbelts and prepare for a deep dive into the world of Project Bluebeam.
Some of the good conspiracy theory starts out with science fiction. Project Bluebeam is absolutely no exception. It's wildly science fiction-like, and maybe 30 years ago it seemed impossible to pull off, but today it doesn't seem that impossible to pull off. So is it real? Is it something that we should be worried about, something that we should go, this is going to destroy us? Or is it something that's just wildly science fiction and some guy came up with a story to scare us all, and here we are wondering what Project Bluebeam is? But the crazy thing about science fiction is most science fiction of our yesteryear is our reality today, or close to it. The technology has developed into what we watched on movies to be our reality, even right down to Star Trek. Like, remember Lieutenant Uhura's Bluetooth that she used to wear? That was back in the 50s. Now you can't go anywhere without seeing people with Bluetooths in their ear, walking around talking on their phones. So, a small example of what is possible with science fiction becoming our reality. So, Project Bluebeam, is it something that was made up that has kind of morphed into a reality? Is it something that was set out back in the 70s to control us all, and has now hit the final stages of the technologies ready for it, and now here we are facing extermination through manipulation, through mental manipulation, through holograms? That's kind of what Project Bluebeam is. Was it purposeful and intent, and then is now morphed into reality? Or was it a conspiracy theory that the government said, hey, that's a pretty good idea, that's a pretty good theory, let's work on that and make it happen? It's a NASA and United Nations conspiracy theory about NASA, United Nations, and the ultimate control of all of us as a depopulation technique. It has to do with space invasions, earthquakes. It has to do with engineered space invasions and engineered second coming of multiple gods, or becoming of multiple gods coming together. So we're going to get into Project Bluebeam. It's really crazy. It's fun. It's scary. But I am your host, the Savage Gentleman, and let's talk about it. So where does Project Bluebeam come from? What are the origins? In the early 1990s, Serge Monast is the original, basically, conspiracy theorist founder. He started writing on the themes of the New World Order and conspiracies that were hatched by secret societies, being particularly inspired by the works of William Guy Carr. In 1994, he published Project Bluebeam, NASA, in which he detailed his claims that NASA, with the help of the United Nations, was attempting to implement a New Age religion with the Antichrist at the head of its New World Order via technology and simulated second coming of Christ. In 1995, he published his most detailed work, Les Protocoles de Toronto, modeled upon the protocols of the Elders of Zion, where he said a Masonic group called 666 had for 20 years been gathering the world's most powerful leaders and the most influential people to establish a new world order for control of the individuals and our freedom. So Serge was being singled out by Canadian and American authorities and had trouble. He had a lot of trouble in his life. He was accused several times of committing crimes, and he was repeatedly placed under detention. Dozens of house searches were performed on his home and on his office, and piles and piles of documents that were finished or semi-finished or in the works were confiscated. They didn't let him see his children and his friends dissociated from him and stopped having anything to do with him. 1.5 years after the revelation of the Toronto Protocols, he was arrested again on December 3rd, 1996 in Montreal. A criminal procedure was initiated against him for scaremongering and fear tactics and other crimes. They don't state what the other crimes were, but almost immediately he was freed the next day. Upon his release, he started to get sick within 24 hours, feeling very poorly, and he died of a heart attack the day after he got out of jail. According to the post-mortem test that was done on him, and it was done under duress from the hospital. They did not want to do any kind of testing on him. The only reason they did the testing on him was because his wife had insisted that they look into his death. It was determined that he had died of a heart attack. However, he was very healthy. He had no health related issues at all. He was very active. He was mentally active, and there was no indications that he would have had any kind of problems whatsoever. So there are a lot of people who will speculate that he was literally taken out by those who he was speaking out against. So kind of knowing a little bit of the man who started it, you can pick or choose whether you think he was making something up, looking for some kind of fame or notoriety, but it should be noted that he had named off multiple dates, multiple times for things. He had talked about a pandemic in the 30-year range from when he died, and that it would be the beginning of the initiation of Project Bluebeam. So take that for what you will, and let's continue on. So as Monast believed, NASA's and the United Nations are going to implement a system of advanced mind control as well as secret technology in order to trick everyone into believing there's been a second coming of Christ. But the first step to Project Bluebeam is earthquakes. They plan on creating through sonic, whatever means they have, technology, creating earthquakes in regions that earthquakes aren't generally a thing, and in strategic locations all around the world. And according to the conspiracy, they're going to unearth artifacts that are religious in nature that will debunk modern day Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and basically all religion as we know it. And these earthquakes are going to bring forth these artifacts as a measure of making us skeptical about modern day faith. And then the second stage of this operation is the holographic spaceships that will come into our airspace. We're supposed to be able to, or we're going to be able to, if this theory is real, we're going to be able to look into the sky and see these giant spaceships coming in an invasion. And it's meant to terrify the world, like, or War of the Worlds. So there's going to be this giant space show through holographic lasers and holograms, and then these images are going to, in this invasion, they're going to be images of deities that we believe are Christian deities, Islamic deities, the Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, the Hare Krishna, are all going to appear in the sky. And then they will merge together into one being. Again, debunking that, Jesus is the real God, or Islam, Muslim, Muhammad is the real God. So they're going to debunk, they're going to create doubt in everybody's mind of everything they've believed, everything they've taught in their modern day faith. It's the ultimate mind control technique of making you question your reality. In 2007, a journalist from The Guardian wrote an article called Bees in the Battlefield, where a U.S. general who worked in psychological operations said, and then there's the prophet hologram, the projection of an image of an ancient god over an enemy capital where public communications have been seized and used against it in a massive psychological operation. So the crazy thing is, with this mind control technique that they're using, after these digital gods, these digital deities are manifest into the sky, then these conspirators that want to brainwash us all to basically mess with our heads are supposed to be using space-based laser-generated satellites to project simultaneous images to the four corners of the planet in every language and dialect according to their region. And the whole sky will be transformed into one giant movie screen with these satellite images all over the world. And this new God will speak to everyone in their own language. So that's like, that's beyond like mind blowing. if that's even technology that's possible. Now, the third step is even when we're getting into like really wild ideas and concepts. The third step is where the mind control takes center stage with telepathic communication devices that will send waves of telepathic signals to reach each person within their own mind. We're not talking a phone call, an audible thing. This is something where people are believing that God is actually speaking to them telepathically through their head with a private message to each and every single one of them, with speaking in their own language, but with knowledge of each person. And so here I think it gets a little far-fetched because there are billions of people on the planet, so they got to break down individual people and things that will reach them at their heart and their core. So that's I don't know that we have quite that level of technology, but supposedly it possibly exists. However, there is evidence of these societies, these government entities, these even social media platforms or whatever. They know so much about us. There's a supercomputer that's here in Utah that basically collects data on every single one of us down to our keystrokes on our keyboard. They know everything about us. They know, we are not private beings, and when we freely give permission every single time we download an app, there's a list of things that we have to give permission for before we ever agree to accepting that app. And you know what the insane thing is that that we give them permission without ever reading what we're giving permission for. We give permission for them to track us. We give them permission for them to basically track our keystrokes. We give them permission to track our emails. We give them permission to look at our spending habits, how much we spend, what we spend our money on. And so there is a massive digital database of our digital footprint that is out there for governments and private entities to use to manipulate and control us. And we freely give that permission up every single time we pick up our phones and download a new app or whatever. So it's one of those things where I think the technology that is the what they're seeking or saying they can do is pretty far out there. However, it's also, I don't know that it's impossible. Because we give them permission every single time and we don't think about it. How many times have you picked up your phone and seen an ad targeted toward you for something you were just talking about a few days ago or even an hour ago? It happens to us all the time. We'll be talking about a certain thing or a certain product, and I'll open up my social media and there's an advertisement for that specific product, and I might not have ever mentioned that product before or thought about it, but there it is on my screen. So there's definitely evidence for the possibility that they can have that information. So when these gods are going to be speaking to us, they have that information that can reach us because they know what we're all about already. And it's supposed to be so personal that it touches your very soul. And again, it will make you question everything you have ever thought about God or spirituality or society, because they have engineered these digital beings to touch us, to reach us. Now, we can get into a lot of things, but this has all been also foretold when we talk about Antichrist, and this Project Bluebeam literally comes down to an Antichrist figure coming down, getting into all of our heads and convincing us that he or it or whatever form it's in is our actual true God, our actual true deity that we must worship. Therefore, we give all of ourselves to it. And that is truly frightening. You know, when they can sit there and tell us all about ourselves, or when this deity can sit there and tell us all about ourselves, and information that we think is very personal, it is easy to see how people can be convinced that this is actually something true. You know, and then here we go. The fourth step of Project Bluebeam would be to make use of these various technologies in order to convince that the alien technology and that there's going to be the alien technology is real and the invasion is real, and that there's going to be a rapture. You know, and Christians, other faiths believe in a form of rapture where the saints will be taken up and they go to live with God. However, if you have a digital rapture where you can actually see the spirits or the humans floating up into the sky to be with their God that has just appeared to them, it's going to convince every single human being that this is true. You're seeing it before your eyes. You're seeing these humans lifted up, this rapture lifted up before your very eyes. And what better way to take everybody and put them into that box of, I missed it. I missed the rapture. Therefore, I have to follow this God because he's my only chance, my second chance of being up with this God and living in a paradise. It is an evil plan, to say the least. Like the level of malevolence involved in manipulating minds into believing that they have missed the most important event that they've been waiting for, only to have a God say, you know, follow me and, you know, it's going to be all right. Which is essentially what the Bible predicts the Antichrist will do. He is the great deceiver. So, is there an actual Antichrist, or is MK Ultra, or not MK Ultra, Project Bluebeam, is it what biblical prophecy was talking about in the first place? Is Project Bluebeam, is our Antichrist a digital God who will literally come in and deceive everybody into walking blindly into these conspirators' hands and becoming their slaves, their worshippers? It's possible. I mean, the Bible clearly talks about these type of events. This is clearly kind of happening in a way that technology and AI and some of the things that we're seeing coming from governments is literally a manifestation of Scripture. The question is what we're witnessing Scripture unfolding as it should, or manipulated control to make it appear that we're living in a scriptural, a prophetic era? That's not to say that prophetic scripture isn't going to come to pass, because seems to be coming to pass before our very eyes. What I'm saying is this man-made manipulation of prophecy in order to control people and fool them into believing that what they're witnessing is of God or of a higher being or an entity that we never even dreamed possible or knew of is now, our deity and in control. So when you break it down, Project Bluebeam on its face is an incredibly evil plan if it's real. If it's not real, and then it's still happening because it's been like manufactured on the premise that this conspiracy was originally thought up, then it's wildly an evil plan. If it is, all hoax and, things are just coincidentally kind of lining up that way, it makes you wonder, was this a prophetic message that is actually coming to pass and we're just not seeing the connection? There's a lot of different things we can consider when we consider Project Bluebeam and conspiracy theories in general. But what we have to truly take a look at is there's a lot of prophecy that has been fulfilled and is continuing to be fulfilled. And in the Bible, it clearly says that people will be deceived in the last days. How that deception is brought about, we don't know. However, what we do know is that it will happen, whether it's through man, through artificial intelligence, or through a actual godlike figure such as the Antichrist. So it's crazy things to look at. It's absolutely crazy things to consider, and I think that the times we're living in require a lot of contemplation. So that's kind of Project Bluebeam in a nutshell. It's kind of my take on, things that I think are definitely happening, how they play out, what we make of them, and how we perceive the happenings of the day in the last dozen years or so, with all of the advancements we've made. It is up to us to decide whether these wild conspiracy theories are actually coming true, or whether we're making them come true through events and we kind of morph them into our own minds into this is a reality, or if these are actual conspiracy theories that are being played out and we're actually in the trap. So, ponder it, think about it, comment on it. If you believe that Project Bluebeam is a real thing, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you don't believe it's real and you think I'm a complete nut job, you can also leave your thoughts. Or if you think there's bits and pieces of it that are real and there are other bits and pieces of it that are too far-fetched, please, let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and thank you for watching. And this is a Savage Gentleman signing off. Have a great day.